Police Minister Senzo Mchunu is today visiting Umlazi in Durban, KwaZulu-Natal. It follows a mass shooting that claimed 6 lives on Saturday. Newzroom Africa's Nqobile Madlala is there and joins us now live. Nqobile, good morning and thank you so much for your time. Umlazi is known to being one of the country's capital murder and rape of South Africa. Do you know, in terms of this particular case, if the police are edging any closer to finding what the motive is, as you're now joined by the top brass?
Yeah, but what are the things?
I believe that's part of the investigation, Katleho. In fact, at this moment, they're saying that this happened in a community that's just a little bit outside of the hostel, but already it is linked to a hostel somehow. And so they had to do a bit of a walkabout to sort of understand. But there are various issues here in KZN that are taking place. You will remember there's also that shooting that took place in Newzroom. So that in itself also requires that there be a lot more investigations taking place. The minister is here. I'm going to try and bring him in to speak to us about this incident. Of course, he's still being brief and having conversations with people that are within the area. I want to speak to the minister now just shortly. We understand that you've done that walkabout at this very point. Can you perhaps explain to us what sort of information have you found with regards to this incident?
Where we are now, we went days, but the actual scenes where these things happened that brought us here are just outside the fences of days in an area. It's an informal settlement, as they call it, called V6 and Mega Village, just outside here. Now, I'm with General Umlazi, who is Commissioner, Provincial Commissioner. I'll just cover an overview of some of the incidents we've been communicating about together with the National Commissioner, but details have been in conversation with the Provincial Commissioner. First, we are saddened by the briefing that we got on the crime scene, where 6 people were just mowed down by one individual who just came from nowhere with a handgun, accompanied by somebody else, apparently, and they made people lie down, and they shot 2 people inside the dwelling, and those who they had made to lie down on the yard. No apparent problem among them. They just came, a little bit of talk, and they just shot those. And there's another one who they shot on their way out, apparently. Now, we don't have a lot of time to be said. We have a lot of time to look for the culprit. And as police said in their statement, that they appeal to the community who could help to identify these culprits, because we want them. But on our own, South African police themselves are busy. They are tracking the culprits, and they are going to find them.
Have you found motive yet?
Well, until we know and talk to the actual culprit to say why and so on, all I'm saying now is to say to the culprits, because I know they are aware that they committed these heinous crimes. They know we are looking for them, that they come forward to the nearest police station. But if this sounds stupid, that they won't bring themselves to justice, we are going to find them anyway, and make them account for their sins. But this is not the only incident that has taken place here. Commissioner will deal with details in terms of where they are and so on. But there's another incident that took place in Newzroom, which Commissioner will cover as well. And that is where there was police were going on the heels of culprits for a crime committed earlier on, and they then got to them, and then they started shooting to police, and police to protect themselves and shoot back, and a number of people died on the scene. The police are following up on the aftermath of that gun exchange. But I do want to take this opportunity once more and say it will never happen that a suspect would shoot at police and police have to give themselves up for such confrontation. Police were on uniform, and most of the time they are on uniform. They are in uniform. Easy to identify them. And they give you instructions what to do because they announce their presence there. And if you don't hand yourself over to the lawful people who are mandated legally to protect all of us, even after you have committed a crime, and then you still want to confront a law enforcement agency, there will always be consequence for that, whatever consequence. But there's a third incident that Commissioner will cover, where we saw pictures circulating and a voice note of an incident wherein a woman was knocked by what looked like a VIP van or car, and after that there's been a very important reason to investigate the whole matter, and police are investigating that, so it's not something that has gone unnoticed. But I just want also to take this opportunity because we were in Umtata on Thursday last week, and we spent the whole day there with Premier, National Police Commissioner, and the Provincial Commissioner and police there. People from there are inundating us with calls to come and arrest the situation there, of extortions in particular. It does seem that all along the people of that area have been under siege as a result of these extortions. And it looks like everybody is involved in this because of the information that we are getting. All I want to say to the people of Mthatha is that we are there, we are doing work, and we will bring culprits and perpetrators to justice. If they want to support us, as we are pleading with them to support us, give us names of those who are involved in whatever crime there. Illegal occupation of buildings, extortions, the so-called protection fees. We want all those people who are involved there. But we also want those who are paying those protection fees. We want them. And those to whom payment is being done. We want them. And please give us names and so on. We are in the middle of the investigation. And we will arrest that situation because it does look like Umthatha is quite filthy of criminals and their crimes. Commissioner will then take us through some of these incidents around here that I've spoken about. Commissioner?
Thanks, Minister. I don't know if there's a question that I should be answering.
Well, perhaps the question is, there seems to be patterns in terms of the violence that is taking place all around KZN, but also included Umthatha. Is there a way or a plan to tackle this violence in KZN?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the challenge we have is regarding the availability of firearms. So as we are engaging with different authorities and community in general, the license owners, in order to safeguard their firearms, as well as the gunsmiths who are responsible for selling those ammunitions which are used by criminals in the most, that will be the first and foremost to help us and reduce this level of violence that we see. And second part on that is we understand that there is economy challenges that we have in the country, but liquor remains our biggest problem. The level of crime that we see generated from the liquor outlets, it's just too much for us to manage in the province. So we plea with the liquor owners, those establishments, that they must sell their alcohol in the responsible manner according to the law. If you're supposed to close a particular facility at a specific time, you close it. If you're not supposed to sell to minors, you don't sell it to minors. If you're supposed to sell the on-site consumption and do that, don't make it a bottle store if it's not supposed to be. And by so doing, at least to some degree, we'll be saying that we are complying with the law. So that's the first and foremost. But secondly, we then invite the communities. Communities has been quite helpful, but not to the level that we want. We want the communities to play a part and work with us very strongly, as the Minister was saying. We as the police, and I always say that we have a workforce of just below 20,000 police officers in the province. This is a population size of over 12 million people in this province, and with the size of the province, over 95,000 square meters. So you can imagine the vastness of the province and the extent of the work that the police must do. So on our own, we cannot win the battle. So we win a battle because we work very close with communities. And I must credit the partnership that we have thus far with different community structures. That a majority of successes that we've been seeing in our province is as a result of that partnership. That close working relationship with us and the communities, sharing the information, which allows us to be able to apprehend the criminals. And in majority of the instance, criminals that are dangerous criminals that end up with a deadly shooting. It's an unfortunate part that sometimes they will do involve some officials, whether within the industry, for instance, cash in transit, where the robberies are taking place, there's some officials from within that are part to these robberies, or it is our own colleagues that we work with in the police, law enforcement fraternity, who are also in cahoot with the criminals. So that is basically what is going to help us to win the battle if we mobilize society as our best strategy going forward.
Do you believe you have enough resources?
Yeah, well, as I said, resources are not sufficient. We have to multiply. So I always say when we speak that until we touch with all the three sectors of our operations, which is community first, mobilizing community to help us fight crime, mobilizing business to invest and allow us to also use their resources to help us fight crime, because they have easily access and financial muscle to be able to procure or install some devices and IT equipment and so forth that can help us as the police to be able to investigate crime with speed. And also government in general. So when I talk government, I'm not talking police alone. I'm talking about all government departments combined. Because a typical example, the incident that happened here, if you take a walk into that area, it's even where we are at this present moment. If we talk about service delivery, the lifestyle that people live here, it's just a breeding ground for criminal activities that are taking place. So police are not even able to patrol that area because it's just outside, just next to the water. They call it a village. We're not supposed to be there, but we're not supposed to be having communities but living in that area, but they are there. So we have to find a way. They will always tell us that we build houses in the cliffs, in the valleys. Yours, police, is to buy horses or make other means to come and patrol there. In places where sometimes there's not even roads, no footpaths, there's no lights, there's no nothing. But we expect to be there. So if government comes and play their part, government different levels, local government, provincial government, as well as national government, they all play their part. And if we use all three environments, we will be able to win this battle.
General, well, maybe let me just add on that. In about 3 weeks, we will come to KwaZulu-Natal for work for a day or two, probably for 2 days, so that we build on the plans that Provincial Commissioner has, and we strengthen and support their activities, because crime is on the increase in the country, of course, including in KZN. And we will, from that meeting, know exactly the outline based on what Commissioner Umlazi will have briefed us on and presented to us, so that whichever area or aspect of policing they have difficulty with, we support, because it's important that even in the almost impossible circumstances and difficulties that police may have, just like he has outlined, we had to walk for a long distance, just going to the crime scene alone. And eThekwini will have to play their part, and much more realistic than before in terms of an enabling environment than we have at the moment, so that policing is easier. I'm not saying that we want to work with ease anywhere, but why should we add difficulty where there could be easier way of enabling police to do their work in light and without any difficulty? But we will come here and we will outline our plans to strengthen
Minister,
policing.
I want to follow up on that question. I was actually going to ask it around this seeming disconnect between the municipalities and government on that side of things, of fixing up these places and then the police. I remember being with one of your predecessors maybe more than 10 years ago, and we were in KwaMashu, and it was a similar conversation. The issue around not having street lights, that informal settlements were now encroaching on hostels and RDP houses. So that still seems to be an issue. But what have you found? I know that you've just taken up this portfolio recently again, but in having these conversations, what have you found to have been the disconnect? Where is it going wrong? It seems like quite an obvious thing to do that municipalities should be doing, but it just hasn't been done.
Well, the overall environment economically in the country at the moment is such that there needs to be, and I know that there are efforts that are being done at all levels of government to develop the economy of the country. There is one very essential thing that government has identified as a pressing matter: grow the economy of this country so that people can get jobs and they can look after themselves in a proper way, in a responsible way. But the second thing is that we need to clear slums. We can't live, and people can't live in slums forever and ever. And therefore, the disconnect that you talk about is when slums develop and overwhelm the formal setup or the formal sector. The informal sector developing and engulfing and overwhelming the formal sector. It comes with all sorts of things. People who are not easy to identify, streets which are nowhere, and no addresses, no lights, nothing. So when crime happens, or a criminal gets there, commit crime, it's very difficult to imagine where in the first place. But police have to do work that they do because they've had to keep up with such situations. But we are saying other departments at other levels, national, provincial, and local, must begin to radically address human settlement patterns and rehabilitate the situation. Otherwise, somebody can come and hide in these places, knowing that they will never be identified from anywhere in the world, and that's not desirable in any country. That's what we're talking about.
Minister, there's also this other issue of police officers now being on the wrong side of the law. It's nothing new. We've seen it before, but I'm talking about it because of the incident that took place yesterday. Yeah. Are you finding, that is this because of any particular reason? Is it an issue with the vetting processes? Is it an issue with pay? Are they now leaning towards other means of making money? What do you find is an issue? Because these are people that have gone through the training. You would assume that they have been chosen to be the ones that protect us, but obviously they're finding themselves on the wrong side of the law. And it seems to keep happening. What have you identified as some of the factors in creating that?
No, firstly, we've had 2 rounds of discussions with National Commission and Management at head office. We are yet to get a full day, as we decided, that we must get a full day to look intensively at different aspects of police. One of them is this one of recruitment, because there's a sense that these incidents of police involvement in criminal activities on the increase. Maybe it is not just that. It may be that police are performing their job such that they are even able to identify some within their ranks. Instead of suppressing that, they are able to publicize that, they are able to identify and reveal that. So it could be elements of both. But elements of what you're talking about, whether it is pay and other issues, they would be part in terms of the play. But look, we don't want to talk such that we are heard out there and misinterpreted to say, well, the situation out there compels, because the majority, vast majority of policemen and women are.
Well, that is a report brought by our reporter Nqobile Madlala from the V6 informal settlement in Umlazi. They're speaking with the top brass of the police after 6 lives were claimed on Saturday with a shooting that took place with an individual who shot at these people with a handgun accompanied by one other. And of course, they're the KZN Provincial Commissioner Umlazi saying that also the level of crime that's generated from liquor outlets in the area is too much for police to handle.